Hi everyone, welcome to Fresh Time's cooking demo tonight. I'm super excited. I'm just finishing up getting prepped for the class and I will be with you guys shortly. We're gonna start just at 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna let a lot of people start to join. I see we have a lot of people already joining. I'm super excited for the class, so stay tuned for a easy seafood and a snap dinner. Now, for those of you who are newly joining, we did have a little bit of issues with our link. So make sure that you check your email because we have a new link to live stream the cooking demo today. So I'm super excited. Again, we're going to start in 5 minutes and I cannot. Now, for those of you who are just joining, my name is Megan Sedeby. I'm the registered dietitian for Fresh Time Market. We're bringing you a virtual cooking demonstration today. I hope that you're able to cook along with me. I know that we sent out our recipe and our ingredients. So I hope that you headed to Fresh Time to get all of your ingredients. This is a simple seafood and a snap recipe. It is sponsored by Solgar Supplements. I'm going to talk a little bit about them just in case some of you who are watching aren't the biggest fish fans. I have a great alternative for you. So we will get started in just a minute. I see that our attendees are climbing. You'll see over in the right-hand side of your screen, there's a little chat box. I wanted to draw attention to that chat box because if you do have questions as we're going through the cooking demonstration, I want you to ask your questions there. I have someone here who says, Tawana says, good evening, Tawana. So nice. Thanks for joining me. If anyone wants to give me a shout out as well, feel free to put it in the question box. Throughout the cooking demo, I will check that question box to see if you guys have questions and try to answer them. If not, I'll certainly try to answer them at the end. The seafood and a snap dinner is going to be a salmon and quinoa chickpea bowl. It's absolutely delicious. You'll be able to smell it soon in your own kitchens if you're cooking along with me. I know my kitchen smells really good and I just can't wait to cook with you guys. So again, I'm really excited. We're going to start in about 3 minutes. I'm just finishing getting some of my ingredients together and we will start cooking in just a few minutes. All right, guys, welcome. I see the numbers climbing. We're starting in 2 minutes. That's right. I'm super excited to have you guys joining our cooking demonstration tonight. We are live in my kitchen, and I'm bringing you a simple seafood and a snap dinner. I am really excited because this can all be made in under 30 minutes, and I guarantee you it's going to be just as delicious as it is nutritious. I'll walk you through some easy kitchen hacks, some nutrition tips as you're making this, especially if you want to make this for a big family, or maybe it's just a smaller family. Whoever you're making it for, we can make it work. We have lots of great heart-healthy ingredients, and again, I promise it'll be just as delicious as it is nutritious. For those of you who are just joining, I want to, again, have you look at the comment box over here. So as you can see, you can ask questions as we go through this cooking demo. I have someone, Helen, you say hi. Hi, Helen. Thanks for joining me. We have a question here. Will we have access to this video afterwards? That's from Naveen. Absolutely. So we are recording this. We will be posting it onto our YouTube page. So you will have access to this video afterwards. So good question. So like I said, use that comment box. Give me a shout out. Tell me what's working in your kitchen, what's not working. I hope you all received the email with the recipe as well as the ingredients. You're able to shop ahead and join me. I am super excited, and we have exactly 1 minute left, so we're going to get started. Hi, Stacy. Hello. Thanks so much for joining us. All right. So I'm going to let a few more people join. I see the numbers are climbing for our participants. So I'm going to give it 1 more minute before we jumpstart this and have our seafood in a snap dinner. I'm hoping that you guys are making it along with me. So Kashti, hello. Thanks so much for joining us. As you guys comment and ask questions, I will absolutely say hello. Let's see, Donna, hi. Thanks so much for joining. Again, this is going to be a super fun, interactive cooking demo. Again, give me a shout out, ask questions. Someone just said they love my real kitchen. This is my real kitchen. We are cooking in it. We are, using real appliances, my stovetop, my oven. I'm a very real dietitian, and I want to bring you real food and real good quality recipes. So I'm super excited. Elizabeth, hi. Thanks so much for joining. Let's see. Rose, thanks for joining. Amy. Oh, Pamela, you already made it for dinner. That's awesome. I love that. That's awesome. All right. So it is 6 o'clock on the dot. So we are going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Megan Sedevy. Good evening and welcome to Fresh Time's virtual cooking class. I'm really excited that you decided to join me tonight because I am going to be teaching you a seafood in a snap meal. It's going to be a lemon peppered salmon fillet in a quinoa and chickpea bowl. It is flavorful, it is delicious, and of course it's nutritious because I am making it as a dietitian. So again, I wanted to point out in the right-hand side over here is a comment box. So feel free to say hi, ask your questions, give a shout out. I will try to answer your questions as we go through the cooking demonstration. Again, it's so wonderful that you're here tonight. I am the registered dietitian at Fresh Time. I am super excited to bring you this Mediterranean salmon with chickpea and quinoa bowl. I also wanted to thank Solgar tonight, Solgar Supplements, for sponsoring this cooking class. So we are going to head ahead and get started. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but February is Heart Health Month. And what better time than to partner with a heart healthy recipe and a heart healthy company? So Solgar Supplements, again, thanks so much for partnering with us. Now, I'm not sure if you guys knew this, but 90% of Americans are not getting the recommended fish and seafood servings each week. That's right. It is recommended by the Dietary Guidelines for Americans that just came out in 2020 that we should each be eating between 8 and 12 ounces of fish per week. Again, 90% of us are not getting that. And there's a couple reasons why. First reason, maybe you're not a fish fan, and that's okay. That's where Solgar comes in, because Solgar has a fantastic Wild Alaskan Ultimate Omega supplement. That's for those of you who are not fish fans. It is filled with whole food focused ingredients. It has omega-3, 5, 6, 7, and 9 omegas. It also has vitamin D that is great for joint and heart health, as well as brain development. And it has no fishy aftertaste. So it's a great way, if you're not a fish fan, to make sure that you get that fish into your system and all those great heart healthy benefits. Now, for those of us who are watching, I'm guessing you are fish fans, but perhaps you don't know how to make it at home. That's perfectly fine. A lot of us don't. We overcook it, we undercook it. So that's why we're going to make this seafood in a snap Mediterranean salmon with a quinoa chickpea bowl. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to check the comment box here, see if anyone has any questions yet. Doesn't look like it, but a lot of you are saying hi to me. So again, thanks so much for joining. Let's go ahead and make our meal. So the first thing you want to do is you want to set your oven to 350. And what you're going to do is while your oven is preheating, you want to measure out 1/3 cup of your almonds. So here I have these great blanched almonds. You guys see that okay? All right, so these are wonderful. They're gonna be a topping on your bowl, but they do need to be toasted. So the best way to toast your almonds is to go ahead and put it on a baking sheet like you see here. Go ahead and line it with aluminum foil. That's gonna cut half of the mess out. And you're going to bake it in the oven for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now, nuts in general, when they're roasting in the oven, they can catch very quickly. So make sure you check on it. So I've already pre-roasted my blanched almonds here for about 3 minutes, and they're nice and lightly toasted. You can start to smell them in the oven. That's when you want to take them out. So that is the first thing that you want to do for this recipe. Next, we want to start working on our quinoa. So here, we're going to use our quinoa. So this recipe is calling for a half a cup of quinoa. And if you guys see here, this is tricolor, meaning it is red and white. So it's got some really pretty colors to it. Now, quinoa, it's a great whole grain. It's one of my favorites because it's part carbohydrate and part protein. In fact, it's a complete protein. So that's great for my plant-based friends to make sure that they get complete proteins into their meals. It's also a gluten-free grain. So for those of you who are following a gluten-free diet, this is a perfect whole grain for you to use. Now, I am going to teach you a quick hack. Any of you out there ever had quinoa and it tastes kind of funky? There's a reason for that. There's a natural film that is on quinoa that is actually derived from the plant to keep, pests out and insects out as it's growing. So that is it's a fine dusting that you're going to have. So let's see, Sharon, you guessed it, rinse it. That's right. So rinse your quinoa in a colander. Make sure it's a small colander because these are tiny, tiny little beads. You don't want them to fall through. Rinse them for 2 minutes under cold water and it'll remove all that dust and it won't have that kind of funky taste to it. So that's the first thing you want to do. So to make our quinoa, this is going to be one of the items that takes the longest amount of time. We're going to take our half cup of quinoa and we're going to put it into our pot here, and we're going to put it with a cup of water. And then all you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, turn your oven on, or your stove on, I should say, and let it come to a boil. From here, you're going to let it come to a boil, then you're going to cover and let it simmer for 15 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to let it just kind of sit nicely here until it starts to boil. Now, while your quinoa is boiling, you need to prep the rest of your ingredients. So the first thing you want to prep is you're going to want to prep your green onion. So you'll see here, I've already cut up my green onion. We need about a 1/3 cup of green onion, and that's going to go in with the quinoa once it's been cooked. So you want to prep that. Next, you're going to want to get 2 cups of garbanzo beans or chickpeas. So these were in a can, like you see here. So they were nicely canned, but they are a little bit high in sodium because they're sitting in that can. So to reduce that sodium content, you want to rinse your beans, again in a colander. You can use the same one that you used for your quinoa, for 2 minutes under cold water, and that will reduce your sodium content by 40%. Beans, they're also a great source of protein, and they are also a source of carbohydrate, but they're filled with fiber. Fiber fills you up, keeps you full longer. It's great for healthy digestion, keeping everything moving and preventing some of those tummy troubles. And also, that fiber is great for your heart health. So again, this is a very heart healthy meal. So again, this recipe calls for 2 cups. And I see here, we have, Vin says you could also use dry beans. Absolutely. You absolutely can do that, but you want to pay attention to the time. You need to soak your beans sometimes, and it can take a few hours. So if you don't have that time or didn't think ahead, you may want to go with a canned bean. So good call out. So now that we've prepped our green onions and our garbanzo beans, the next thing we want to do is we want to make our sauce that's also going to go in the quinoa. So in this sauce, we are going to combine a 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Now, I love olive oil. It is a monounsaturated fat, meaning it's a heart-healthy fat. It increases your good cholesterol, decreases your bad cholesterol. It's also wonderful because most olive oils are cold pressed, meaning it's locking in all of those great nutrients. so that you can get all those great heart health benefits. Next, we're going to add our lemon juice. So this is freshly squeezed lemon juice. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons. It also calls for a half teaspoon of lemon zest, which I use the same lemon. I just use the outside and the inside. I'm a big fan of using the whole product, so I have less food waste. So I'm going to go ahead and add my lemon zest and my 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Next, for our sauce, it's calling for a teaspoon of garlic and a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. So I'm going to go ahead and get my spatula, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into our mixture right here. So we have, again, it's the 4th cup of olive oil, a teaspoon of garlic, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 3 tablespoons of our lemon juice, and a half teaspoon of lemon zest. Last but not least, we're going to add a little bit of salt, lemon pepper, seasoning, and that's it. So I'm going to mix this up so that we have a nice vinaigrette dressing to go over the quinoa to flavor it. Now you'll see here, my quinoa is now at a rolling boil. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it down, cover it, and let it sit here for about 15 minutes, okay? So next, we want to prep the rest of our vegetables for our bowl. So you'll see here that I have prepped this is about a 1/3 cup of cucumber. Now, I always keep the skin on my cucumber. Why? 1, it's edible. 2, it's filled with fiber. Again, that fiber filling us up, keeping us full longer, great for heart health and our gut health. So that's a really easy way to get more fiber and to get more nutrients, is to keep the skin on when it's edible. So always keep the skin on. So we want to go ahead and cut up our cucumber. We also want to cut our fresh parsley, like you see here. And I just minced this super nicely. Again, you're going to see there's a lot of heart healthy vegetables. We also have great whole grains. Oh, there's my oven that I set for my almonds, which I've already baked, but I'm now going to go ahead and set it for our salmon so that we can get that cooking. So ideally, because the quinoa takes the most amount of time, you want to do that first, and all the rest can kind of be done as you're going along and the quinoa is cooking. So now that we have everything prepped, we can turn our attention to our salmon. So I wanted to show you here. Here is our salmon fillet. Doesn't that look beautiful? So this is a new salmon that we have at Fresh Time. It's Regal King salmon, and it is delicious. Do you see how deep and dark and orange in color it is? It has beautiful marbling, which gives it a buttery, rich flavor and texture. Not to mention, the darker the flesh of salmon, the more omega-3s that it's going to contain, which omega-3s, again, are those heart healthy fats. And they're also great for brain development. So having a dark flesh fish, you always want to look for that. So when you head to Fresh Time, go to the fresh case and look for the most orange salmon available. So once we have our salmon here, then we need to prep it to go into the oven. So you do need to broil your salmon for about 6 to 8 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade from pre-setting for the almonds. We're going to now upgrade our oven to broil. So I'm going to go ahead and hit broil and go ahead and get that started. Now for this salmon, the only thing we need to do, and this is my favorite way to cook, is to put it on a sheet pan, line it with aluminum foil, and put the salmon skin side down. The reason for this, I really don't like to do dishes, so this cuts down the dish time. So what I do is afterwards, then I can take the salmon off, I can crumple up my aluminum foil, throw it in the garbage, and then I can just reuse this, and it's one less dish I have to do. I don't know about you guys, but as a busy mom, working and coming home from work, I love no fuss and fuss cleanup from my meals. So to prep our salmon, the only thing we need to do is add lemon pepper seasoning. So it calls for about a teaspoon of lemon pepper seasoning. And so all you want to do is just nicely spread that all over your salmon, so it is nicely coated. Now, one thing, if you're not a huge fish fan and you're thinking about supplements like the Wild Alaskan Ultimate Spectrum from Solgar, is that the supplement that you're taking actually provides 2.5 servings of salmon or fish. And again, I told you it's recommended between 8 and 12 ounces per week. So that's an easy way to get at least 2.5 servings into your week. So now that we have our salmon ready to broil, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it into the oven. So I'm going to reach down here and place this in our oven. And we're going to let that sit for about 6 to 8 minutes. Again, for those of you who want salmon that's a little bit more well cooked, you want to go on more the 8-minute, maybe even a little longer to 10 minutes. For those of you who like it a little bit more medium, you can absolutely do the 6 minutes. Now, I want to talk to you real quick about cooking fish. So if you're not using the broiler, how else do you cook the fish? Well, an easy rule of thumb is the 1-inch rule, meaning for every inch thickness of your fish, you cook it for 10 minutes. So my salmon was about 1 inch thick. So if I was going to actually bake it in the oven, I'd set my oven to about 425 and bake it for 10 minutes. Take it out at 8, see if it flakes with a fork. If it does, it's done. If it doesn't, needs to go back in for another minute or 2. If it was 2 inches thick, I put it in for 20 minutes, check it at 10, see if it flakes. If it does, take it out. If not, put it back in. So on and so forth. So it's a simple 1-inch, 10-minute rule that you can use on any fish, and that'll prevent you from overcooking or undercooking your fish in the future. So it's a really simple way to cook fish. All right, so our quinoa, it's getting there. It is almost done. So I'm going to show you what the finished product looks like as the quinoa is finishing up. So this is our final product. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So this has our charred salmon, so our broiled salmon. It has our quinoa and garbanzo bean mixture, and then it's topped with beautiful fresh cucumbers, parsley, those toasted almonds, and a little bit of cranberry. So I just want to show you guys what this is going to look like. Isn't it beautiful? I think it's just gorgeous. I wish you could smell my kitchen, and I hope you can smell your kitchen, and it smells amazing that you're cooking alongside of me. All right. So now that our quinoa is done, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off, and I'm going to remove the lid. Now, you know the quinoa is done when it's become light and fluffy. And I'll show you guys. You see how it's nice and it's very hot, but it's nice and light and fluffy, okay? That means your quinoa is all done. And it no longer has any water still in the pot. So now that our quinoa is done, what we want to do is we want to add that 3rd cup of green onion to our pot. Again, still while it's nice and hot. So add that 3rd cup of green onion. Then we want to add those 2 cups of garbanzo beans. And go ahead and mix it up a little bit. You're going to smell the green onion because it's hitting a nice hot quinoa. It smells super good. So you guys can see here, we have our quinoa, our garbanzo bean, as well as our green onion mixture. Next, we want to add that tangy vinaigrette that we made earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix this. Again, you'll notice a theme to this recipe. It's all heart healthy. So do you see how it's becoming nice and thick? It smells amazing. All right, so now that our quinoa is done, we want to look and see where our salmon's at. So I'm going to go ahead and check my oven, see where it's at here. All right, so our salmon still has a few more minutes to cook, but it's starting to really char and look absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to take a minute while our salmon is still cooking to take a look at our comment box to see if you guys have questions. Okay, so one of the questions, Logan, you're asking about the rule about cooking fish, to repeat that. Okay, it's very simple. For every inch of fish, you cook it for 10 minutes. So if it's 1 inch thick, so you're looking at the thickest part of the fish, you cook it for 10 minutes. If it's 2 inches thick, you cook it for 20 minutes. If it's 3 inches thick, you cook it for 30. And you always check halfway between your time slot. So if you have an inch thick fish, and you cook it for 10 minutes, check it around 5 minutes, maybe even 8 minutes to see if it flakes. You're just gonna take a fork and go ahead and kind of move it around and see if it flakes. If it does, then it's done. If it doesn't, then you have to put it back in. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let's see. Yes, garbanzo beans equal chickpeas. Absolutely. Thanks so much. Can you air fry the salmon? Absolutely. I don't have an air fryer, so I'm not sure how that works, but I know a lot of people air fry their salmon, so you absolutely can use that as well. All right, it looks like we had a question about wild caught, and yes, so Regal King salmon, it is sustainably raised, and it is in cold waters, and it's coming all the way from New Zealand. So thanks so much for asking that question. Also, a good tip from Deborah that she always brushes her salmon with a little bit of olive oil before broiling, just to make sure that it doesn't dry out. That's a great tip. If you are afraid that your fish is going to dry out, whether you're grilling it, broiling it, cooking it, you can always use a little bit of olive oil to really seal in that moisture and make sure that your fish doesn't dry out. So that's a great tip. All right. Oh, this is a great question. Is there a specific color better than the other quinoa, white versus red? Not at all. Quinoa, there are color differences, but the nutritional value is the same. So whether you're buying red, white, or the tricolor, it's all the same. So it's still whole grain, it's still heart healthy, full of fiber, gonna fill you up, keep you full longer. So you can't go wrong with whatever color you prefer. A lot of times I use the red color just because I think it's fun and festive, but you can use any color you would like. All right. Okay, so someone asked how long to roast the almonds. So we want to roast the almonds at 350 between 3 and 6 minutes. I always go with the lowest temp because they can turn very quickly and you don't want to burn them. That is not a good smell and definitely not a good taste. So again, between 3 and 6 minutes. When I roasted my almonds earlier, right before our demo, I roasted them for 3 minutes and it was perfect. They smelled great, they looked great, and they weren't overdone. So great question. Okay, great question from Lainey. I have an allergy to nuts. Is the recipe okay without them? Absolutely. You can sub out anything that you need to for an allergy. Sometimes you may not even like an option, so feel free to sub out items that you don't care for or that you can't have, and it is perfectly fine. If you do have a different kind of crunchy topping instead that you can have, then I would suggest adding that, like maybe seeds. Seeds would be something that you could potentially have. So that could be a substitution. All right, let's see. All right, I have a lot of people who are super excited to make this dinner. I have someone who's making it for her fiance and herself. That's awesome. So I think I answered most of these questions. So if I didn't, feel free to add more questions at the bottom here. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if we have any more questions. Okay, now I'm going to check my salmon real quick. See where we are. Ooh, I think maybe it might be done. So I'm going to go ahead and get my oven mitts. And I'm going to remove my salmon. Oh, it smells so good in my kitchen. For any of those of you who are cooking with me, I hope it smells great in your kitchen too. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn my oven off. I'm gonna pick this up. It's very hot, so just want to show you my broiled salmon. And so now we need to plate our quinoa bowl. So we'll start off with our quinoa and chickpea mixture. So I'm going to put that on my plate first and foremost. Next, I'm going to add my garnishes. So I'm going to garnish with some dried cranberries, my freshly diced cucumber, my parsley, and my toasted almonds. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take my salmon off of my plate. The nice thing is too, when you do roast it at a high temperature, so when you broil it or cook at a high temperature, since the skin was still on here, it actually stays on the aluminum foil. So you don't have to worry about eating it if you don't want to. So here, my salmon. Ta-da! That's the whole meal. We did it in 30 minutes from start to finish. I hope you cooked along the way with me. It's beautiful. It smells good. I can't wait to have dinner right now. So thank you so much for joining. I wanted to give a special thank you to Solgar Supplements for sponsoring this event. If you have more questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box. I'll try to get to them. And thanks again for joining us for this great cooking class. You guys were an awesome audience. I loved all your questions. You guys really made my day, and I hope that I made your meal tonight. So have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time. Bye.